Derek, congratulations on your Manager of the Year
Thank you.
nominee. How does that feel?
Yeah, I think it's nice to be in that good company there. Obviously, it wasn't something I was thinking about, but once it was mentioned, it's nice. I think it's always a kind of reflection in the whole club, really. It's the same any individual awards for players or any monthly awards you pick up throughout the season. It's like it's a reflection and towards a lot of people doing their job well. Disappointed we didn't have enough players, any players in the team of the year. There's a lot of good players in that, I need to say, and obviously young David, youngster, nomination for that as well. So hopefully he can pick up that award. But these things, they come around quite soon before the end of the season. It's always that kind of dilemma whether if it's too early for. Obviously, there's a lot of good managers not nominated, and a lot of managers could still go and have successful campaigns. Brendan, Clement. And there's other managers even in the Premier League out. Stephen A. Smith, Steve Robinson, they've all had good seasons. So it's but nice to obviously be nominated, of course.
Does it make it a bit more special just because it's voted by your peers, the ones who know the sort of trials and tribulations?
No, not really. I know my peers. Not really. No, I think it's just any nomination. As I say, it's just a kind of byproduct of your club's doing well. And I think that. I'm so pleased. I think there's a special mention to my players and the staff this season. Have been outstanding. We've freshened the staff up, and I really feel we've got a brilliant dynamic with the staff. I think Paul Shearer, Craig Clark, Alan Archibald have been brilliant for me. All my support staff, the medicals team, throughout the whole club. It's been a proper club working and pushing in the right direction, trying to make a better fist of things and try to make sure that we are not in a position where the club was a few years ago and being relegated. So we're doing all we can to keep ourselves at the right end of the table, and to do that you need the whole dynamic of your club working in the same direction and everybody working for the same thing. And the players are the ones. I think it's quite ironic because last season you felt as tough as it was last season, you probably feel you do more as a manager in a season like that. You probably feel you do a lot of your better work when you're really having to deal with a crisis and a situation that we were in and try to make sure we're good enough to go over the line. This season's actually been easier to manage, even though you get the recognition for it because your team's doing well. And that's all down to recruitment and the players, absolutely. So I don't think I've become a better manager this year than I was last year. I actually think that last year was a tougher test for us, but this year's been so enjoyable. It really has, and that's down to the players every day, and it's down to the staff I'm working with. So, I still have that enthusiasm. I just can't wait. As soon as I wake up, can't wait to bounce into work, and I want my players to feel that work's a good place, and hopefully that can continue. I've really enjoyed the season. We've got 4 games to go, and hopefully there's a couple of highlights still in us.
You mentioned David's nomination. He's really kicked on after coming out of the team at the end of last season, and has he sort of exceeded your expectations this campaign?
I don't know if he's exceeded, but I think the goals part of it is the part where we were looking for a bit more from him, and I think any midfielders, you can all see the qualities of Davy. He's so refreshing. He's tough to play against. He's handles the ball well. He's so enthusiastic. He's so fit. He's physically he can deal with it. But the thing that will separate him from others, and the fact probably the reason he's been recognised for the nomination is the fact he scored goals. And any midfielder that can get past the strikers and get in, score goals is always going to be worth their weight in gold, and he is that to us. He's been terrific. He came in last season and did really well for us. He's been a highlight this season for us as well, and it's right that he's been recognised. There's some good young players there, but you'd put Davy right at the very top of that.
Is that something you worked with him on specifically at the start of the season, was becoming more of a goal scoring midfielder, and then into next season, I think he's got 5 this season, do you think they can just get scoring?
Yeah, do you know what, you can work on these things Monday to Friday, arriving at the right time, having that calmness, having that subtlety, having that kind of composure to finish off the last pass, the last shot, and the secret is arriving time and time again, but also being a bit more choosy with his runs into the box as well, and rather than just always being on the same movement all the time and the same kind of pace. Can't be a wee bit cuter. That comes as well with a bit more experience and game knowledge. But I think the biggest thing with David is the fact that once you've scored an important goal, you want it again. You know, he's scored some brilliant goals. He's up for nomination for our goal of the season, and you could pick one of three goals that could win it. But also, I think for a younger player or any player, once they've scored a goal that's made the difference, that recognition and that value you have on that goal and how it makes you feel, you want more of that, and hopefully there's a lot more to come. I do believe he's a midfielder who can get double figures in a season, and that's what we'll be looking for next season, you know. But he's been terrific. He's almost been faultless, to be honest.
It might seem unusual, Derek, for a manager to say they've done better work in a season fighting against relegation than what they did in a season when they're going for.
It's a hard way to evaluate how, when you do better work, but I actually felt as though there was a lot more demand last season, a lot more had to go into it, you know, and we were working hard just to kind of plug gaps and fill holes and put teams out there that could compete. We didn't have maybe the squad that a club like Kilmarnock should have had, but we had to. I never created that situation, but I had to deal with that situation. We didn't have a head of recruitment last summer, and we were running about trying to get players in, just to almost signing players he'll do, rather than targeting and being really specific. So this season's been totally different, having Russ with us from January last year, even the January window last year, signing Kyle Vassell and Luke Chambers, two players that had a big part in us staying in the league. It showed you the value of good recruitment even then. And this summer we have recruited brilliantly. I mean, I couldn't every one of my new signings, I think, is more than played a part, and it's hard to decide, even for our Player of the Year this year, who can be Player of the Year. There's so many candidates for that. So recruitment's everything. So going back to that, your question, Ronnie, for me it's managing is easier when you're winning games, and management's easier when you've got trust in your players, and there's a lot of confidence in the squad at the minute, as you can understand. I think we've had 2 defeats since the beginning of December, end of November, in league. I think we've had 2 defeats in 19 games, I think it is, in the league, and both against Rangers, home and away. So it shows you that the consistency's there, home and away. I know a lot's made of our home form, and rightly so. I think in terms of points picked up on the road, I think we're 33% of our points picked up on the road this season as well. And you know, well, we haven't always won those games. Nobody's really beaten us on the road either. So been huge improvements, and the players deserve so much credit for just having the focus, having that motivation to see every game as important as the next one.
How do you approach these last 4 games, Derek? Because you've already beaten the Old this season. You've got to play them again. You could have a big impact on where the title goes. You
know, I got asked this yesterday as well. The biggest bearing impact on who wins the league will come from Rangers and Celtic. It's a lot of times people focus on their opponents, and people say, "Oh, there's a game we can slip up, and there's a tough opponent there." You know, Rangers and Celtic are in a situation where it's the first title fight for a while, and it's exciting for everybody. There's plenty to play for. We've still got our own agenda. We've still got to try and get finish the season strongly. We don't want to feel as though that the season's finished now because we've reached top 6. And there was no huge celebrations with that for us, top 6. We were actually disappointed at Tynecastle to never win the game. And then we moved on quickly to what's next. And what's next is qualifying for Europe. We're almost there. Can't say it officially, but we're almost there. A lot of things would need to go against us for that not to be the case. But we've still got work to do to get secure 4th spot, and that's what we're concentrating on. And when we play Rangers and Celtic, it'll be no different for us in terms of facing them and the difficulties and the challenges of playing against good teams. The challenge for Rangers and Celtic is to find their best form between now and the end of the season, because whoever finds their best form between now and the end of the season might just win the league.
Could we go back to your nomination, Derek? Have you spoken to Tony?
No, but I missed call for him this morning. So I'll speak to him no doubt today or tomorrow, whatever.
You're going to call him back?
I will do, I will do. I don't know what he's phoning for. Maybe it's to try and meet up on Sunday, but I can't shake him off, to be honest. No, it's great. I mean, I think the nominations, you know, John McGlynn, what a season John's had. And it's only right that he's been nominated. And you can see why Tony's been nominated, you know, his first year as a manager. to get Dundee in a position where they're still pushing for a European spot with St Mirren is good going. So, and like I say, it's always difficult, I think, for people to vote for the right ones. There will always be people who question, but I think certainly from John and Tony's point of view, I think both have merited their nomination. And there's probably a case for 2 or 3 other managers as well that could have been in there. So I think like everything else, it's good to see your pals doing well in the game. I think I've got huge respect for all managers doing the job. It's not easy, and you know, I didn't enjoy last season managing. So I'm done it long enough now to try and make sure you enjoy these types of moments and not be too blasé about it. You know, I think it's important you try and recognise that there's a lot of good work's been done to get us in this position, and it is enjoyable. I've got great set of lads come in every day, and you find them all the same way. Everybody's working hard, looking for those improvements and try to finish the season strong. So I'm just concentrating on those last 4 games and us maintaining a standard that we've shown from the first kick of the ball, to be honest.
What about the players? Have they been quite supportive too?
About me?
Yeah.
Nobody said anything. Nobody said anything. No, listen, we're close. The staff and the players, we all work close together. You can't have this type of season we've got this season going on if you didn't have that. And you know, I think it's. I know a lot of managers like to keep distance for the players and each to their own, but I couldn't think of anything worse, to be honest. I probably hang about with them too much. They probably want to shake me off a bit. But no, they're actually good people to be about as well. You know, and I think part of that is you want to sign good players, but you also want to sign good people and good lads and players with honesty, and I think we've got that.
It's clearly working with what you're doing for how the season's been going, but can I ask as well, this lunchtime we've had the VAR review. 26 decisions have been deemed incorrect from the start of the season. What are your thoughts on that?
From the start of the season, 26?
Sorry, yeah.
Is that over?
The Premiership season,
I'm sure there was that over one weekend one time. Listen, I think I didn't know about that. Obviously, you just sprung that on me there. I think any sort of review on VAR to improve it is obviously clearly important. We're not the only country with its issues with it. It's I think quite refreshing at the weekend. I think we never went through most of the games or without any real bone of contention. I think we highlight VAR too much, but I do think it's incumbent the people working it and operating it to try and make it as slick and as good as possible. And I think we've still got a bit to go with it.
It's a rise of 10 since last February's meeting. Does it frustrate you when these things go wrong?
Yeah, it does. Listen, there was always refereeing decisions going wrong before VAR came in. But with VAR now, there's an ability now to kind of really highlight it and go over and over it. Sometimes you'd get a bad decision on Saturday, it'd be a fish and chip paper the next day and you'd move on quickly. But VAR, I think that's where the frustration comes in a lot of times, because I think we're still astonished at sometimes how they arrive at some of the decisions when they've got a better chance to look at it. And I still feel that we've got a clear progress still to be made with it. And we're not perfect. Most countries aren't perfect, but we've got. I think it's incumbent on those operating it, and the SFA and the refereeing department to get better with it and clearer with it as well. Clearer with it.
How's your squad?
Good. We have Greg Stewart went in for his hernia operation last week, so he'll be back with us hopefully for maybe St Mirren, maybe Celtic. Definitely Celtic, I think. So it's a 3-week recovery for that. Kel McInnes is still out longer term. Young James Balagizi's got picked up a little knee strain, but again he'll miss Saturday, but has a chance for St Mirren next week. And no other injuries, fresh injuries. We had a friendly game yesterday here, and some boys get some much needed game time, so they'll all come a step closer to be involved in the squad at the weekend.